Hi, I'm Barbara Kris.
And I'm Clarissa,
We're two friends, entrepreneurs, and experts in our field.
joining forces and talking all about life, business, tools for success, and more.
So, without further ado, here's to Dope Women. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Here's to Dope Women. I'm Barbara Kris, and I'm joined here with these two beautiful ladies, my co host, Miss Clarissa, and our amazing guest today. You guys, this is going to be a good one. Literally a workshop in self confidence, entrepreneurship, creating yourself, recreating yourself. We've got the dessert diva, Miss Tracie Wright. Welcome. We have been waiting for this for so long, and so we're so glad to have you on today, girl.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be
Yes,
here.
of course. I just have to share that, we've been friends for some time, and, you've definitely just built yourself over and over. And I've seen you grow on social media with your businesses and all of that. But this is something that literally you have created from the ground up. I mean, maybe just to kind of get us started, let's just hear in your words a little bit about you.
Well, a little bit about me. I actually am 42 years old. Currently in Los Angeles, and I started out as a Marine. At 17 years old, I went into Marine Corps. I was very young. My parents had to sign me away, actually. So right out of high school, I did that. And it was one of the most life-changing experiences I think I ever had. And I know a lot of people go off to college and do all of that, but being in the Marines gave me some real world experience. It was
Mm,
a lot of responsibility, a lot of education that had to go on, and just learning a different type of life. And it gave you discipline, it gave you structure, it taught you about respect, it taught you about, taking care of the person to the right and left of you, because those people are your responsibility at that
mm.
point. So it taught me so much. So I definitely enjoyed that experience a lot.
Yeah. I did not realize you were so young though when you went into the Marines. I didn't realize it was that wow. I mean, talk about just learn by the frying pan, just throw you in.
Literally, I think growing up, and it's something that I respect my parents for, especially my mom. It was a lot of tough love, and I remember my mom. That conversation was like, "Listen, you're about to graduate high school. You need to either go to college or you need to go to one of the services." And she's like, "I will gladly take you there myself, and you pick one." And I had been working since I was like 15 and a half. I started working at Carl's Jr. I think
Mhm.
so. It's a lot of fast food and all the stuff that typical high schoolers do. And I was used to that. I was used to, like, I want a paycheck. I didn't know what else to do with myself. So I remember going to each branch. The Air Force unfortunately didn't have enough brain power for that one. That is not an easy one to get into.
I find that hard to believe.
I got some brain power, but not enough for the Air Force, apparently. But you know, I tested well, so I went to the Navy. It didn't appeal to me. The Army didn't appeal to me. Coast Guard, I don't do any type of swimming, anything like that. Not happening. No. And so the recruiter I had in the Marine Corps, I remember him very well. He's a gunnery sergeant at the time, and I remember talking to him. He's like, what do you want to do? Like, you scored so well. And I was like, oh, I want to do legal. And he was like, that's not available. What else? And I was like, I really love airplanes. So chose an MOS for that. And then I said, do I get to wear that uniform, which is the sharp dress blues, and the guy looks so sharp. And he said, yes, if you complete boot camp, of course. And I said, done. He's like, you do realize this is the hardest branch to be in? I said, I don't care. It's like, I can do it. And from there, got signed up and shipped off to boot camp for 12 weeks.
Wow. So how long was your boot camp and how long was your stay in the Marines?
Boot camp is 12 weeks, so 3 months. And I stayed in for 8 years. So I did 2 enlistments. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what is so interesting? So now you're a chef and
Yes.
you are like the dessert queen as well. We'll get into all of that. But like I said at the start, this is literally a workshop in, when you share your lessons and the things that you've done, literally a workshop in just self-belief and just believing in yourself and what you can do and what you can build. How did you get into, I mean, maybe that's too much of a jump, but how did you get into the culinary world?
Being introduced to food very early on, my mom was like, get in the kitchen. I had to be like 12 or 13 at the time. And I always remember her, cooking and making fried chicken and all these great meals, and I was just like, oh, this is so interesting. Everything smells so good. It always tastes so good. But she was like, you need to get in here and learn how to cook. I believe she said, if you want a husband, you need to learn how to cook. My mom's a whole comedian. She's amazing. And so I would be by her side. She's like, oh, peel these potatoes or help me do this. And I learned gradually like what seasonings she uses for her famous fried chicken, by the way, which I will not be sharing.
Oh, damn.
Yes, no, you're not getting that. Um, but yeah, I just learned the ways and learned my way around the kitchen, like what to use, like what types of ingredients. I don't think I ever saw like a lot of frozen food or boxes or cans of anything. My mom was always from scratch. And so that was always intriguing to me. But fast forward, even in the Marine Corps, we had to get crafty with food because, you're on a budget, you don't make a whole lot of money, and you don't want to eat at the chow hall, which was really not good. So in the barracks where we would all stay, it was either we were grilling, with everyone, or I bought a rice cooker. And when I tell you I could whip up all kinds of meals in the rice cooker, noodles, obviously rice, everything. So I would cook food
Wow.
for, some of my friends in the barracks, and like we were eating pretty good. So we had to get crafty, but did what I could.
It's like everybody was like trying to be best friends with Tracie because
Yes.
she's the chef. You need to get in with her.
Yes, indeed. You
Oh
wanted to
my
be
gosh.
friend. No.
That's awesome. So now, okay, now this is what I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested in hearing because you made a business out of what you were passionate about. Were you always an entrepreneur at heart, or was this something that sort of evolved?
I think it's something that evolved. Being an entrepreneur, like I've seen my mom do many businesses. She had her own restaurant for a little bit of time. And just kind of watching her, I was like, man, like I would love to do something like that. I would love to have a restaurant and feed everyone and bring everyone together over just a good meal. But it's just something I had to not be scared of, because when you're wanting, you have an idea and it keeps festering and festering in your mind. It's just like, oh man, I think I would be great at this. I would be great at this. But what do I do? How do I get started? Of course, I could ask my mom. She can give me only so much information. But at the end of the day, it comes down to how creative do you want to be? Are
Mm.
you going to limit yourself because there is competition? Starting the baking business, that was the first thing I ever did. And it was just like, I don't even know how to use fondant. I don't know how to tier a cake properly. But it was just something that I had to teach myself. And once I learned some basic things, I was like, I'm ready. And, you know, and it also starts with the support of family and friends. I will say that. Barbara being one of my friends, like you had some of my cupcakes and, word spreads and things like that. And you go to Instagram. That was a huge platform for me. Even at the beginning, I wasn't getting a lot of, interest. People, you might get 3 likes on something and nobody's really sharing it. But as
Right.
time went on, I started to build a brand. I got more comfortable. I started learning more. And as I started to learn more, I got more confident and really pushing stuff out there. And then all it takes is one person who can catapult your business. And I've had that one person.
Wow.
And then from there it grows.
I just think I just have to step back and really give you credit for the fact that that's something that you were self-taught.
Yes.
You literally just decided I love this and I'm gonna make something with. I mean, what is there something like you could share with people out there as far as like what was it that really propelled you to do that? Because that is so scary
Propelled me to
to just go forward and go after your passion. Say, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go after it.
it was just like I said, when I was learning and I started to get certain skills down, and I was like, oh man, like my mind was freed, bringing out all that creativity. I'm like, oh man, let me do this. And then, when people start to really enjoy what you've created,
Mm.
that is when I knew. I was like, I have something. I have something. And that's all you need. I have something, and also believing in yourself yes, it is nice to have those affirmations and you get praise and oh my God, this tastes so good. But if you don't believe in yourself, it's not going to go anywhere. And I just really had to believe in myself and just go for it. I was at a point in my life where I could afford to do that.
Right.
So I went for it. I was like, if I fail, I fail, but at least I tried. And that was it. Yes.
I love it. No, absolutely. Okay, so now fast forwards, like you were talking about how, you're kind of building traction. And I remember this. I remember when you were building the Dessert Diva brand, and you're I have to say badass. I mean, not only were your desserts just kick ass, because I've tasted them, they are amazing. But you were really picking up traction. And then you mentioned, like you just said, sometimes it just takes that one person, that serendipitous moment, right? What was it for you?
The one moment where I felt was life changing is when I did the desserts for Chris Brown's second birthday. That was huge. And that was the thing. It went viral, like millions and millions of views, and my inbox was flooding. Can I get an order? I want these desserts.
Oh my
And
God.
at that time, I was still trying to create things, and I started adding the bling
I
to
remember.
strawberries, right? And my apples and all of that sparkly stuff. And I remember going over details for that event, and it was just, we want the whole spread, cake, everything. And I was like, I was so nervous, but I was so ready when I did that, and it went viral. It changed my life. Everyone knew who I was. And it was like that pinnacle. It was like I started from nothing. Like nobody cared. And now everybody sees it. It's on this platform in
Woo.
magazines, it's everywhere. So it's a very surreal moment, but that's when my business really changed. And even after that, Viola Davis,
I
that
love her.
that was another moment, but I had already, done Chris Brown's thing. But when her husband reached out to me, it was just like, wait, what? I thought I was being pranked. I was like, who's jumping out the bushes? Because I'm like, there's no way her husband is reaching out to me asking for strawberries because she loves strawberries. And again, the bling and all of that. Like, this is perfect. And another thing is being an entrepreneur, sometimes you're scared to charge what you're worth, especially dealing with celebrities. It's just like, oh, I'll give that to you for free. I'll make any concession because I just want to be seen. I want this client. But I told him my price. I said it's going to be X amount of dollars for all these desserts that you want, paid immediately. And that was another turning point for me. It's like, I am worth it. My desserts are worth it. And it was just amazing.
Oh man. Woo, that like
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think that that's a really huge turning point in being an entrepreneur, is just realizing your worth and
Yeah.
and just saying, you know what, this is what I charge. It takes a level of courage to do that, because I've had to do that before,
Mhm.
and people are like, okay, and it's just like, oh, okay, that's great. Okay, let's do
Ab-
this.
Absolutely. And those are the clients that you want, those who pay immediately. I remember something that stuck with me that my mom said. She's like, listen, you got some good stuff going on here. Everything is going well. However, you want a certain clientele. You want clientele with disposable income for what you are doing. She's like, you don't want Taco Bell and McDonald's clients. And I was like, what? She goes, you don't want people basically who are going to try to nickel and dime you and try to get a discount from you. Like, oh, I really can't afford that price, but can you give it to me for $100 off? It's like, no, I will gladly send you to Costco or Albertsons. That means you cannot get my product, and I will not lower the price of my product because I know what I provide. And that's another thing that I think entrepreneurs need to learn.
yeah.
Charge what you're
We
worth.
we hear it over and over, like the what you want to receive, like the energy that you put out is what you're going to receive.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like you said, that those first few times when you put your price out there was like, you're almost like here we go, let's see what happens.
Yes, because I remember charging $45 when I first started for a dozen cupcakes. And I had people that were like, $45? Well, it's only $8 at the grocery store. I said, you can go to the grocery store. I'm you know how long those cupcakes has been sitting on the shelf?
Yeah.
I'm making my stuff fresh, all, fresh ingredients. Nothing is from a can or a box, like it's from scratch. And
Hmm.
you have to teach people that, and then they start to respect your craft more when
Yeah.
they realize what goes into it.
And not getting discouraged when you tell people your price and they're kind of like, they don't want to pay that. And still kind of staying in your power of realizing like, oh, I'm not gonna lower my standard just because these people want it for cheaper.
Absolutely. And that goes into every aspect of your life if you think about it. Relationships, everything. You don't
Hmm.
lower yourself to meet someone at their level. No, I'm going to be here. Either you rise to this or get out of the way.
Yeah.
Period.
Sure.
Yeah, which brings I think the next topic, right, is like you had this amazing success with your dessert business. And obviously, there's people around you, whether it's relationships, friendships, things like that. How did that get impacted, as far as people dealing with your success and or even how you dealt with that? Like what was that like?
It I will say this, when I started my baking business, I was married at the
Hmm.
time. Um Everything was good. He knew what I wanted to do, and we talked about the vision for a very long time, but I think for him, he did not think it was going to explode the way it did. I think for him in his mind is like, okay, you're my wife. We have these goals, and this is kind of what we want to do. It was already mapped out, but
Mm.
and for him, it was like, this is a hobby. She can make cupcakes for our friends and, people here and there. That's cute. But when it blew up and you're getting celebrity clientele, like your name is out there, the brand is out there, and you're in demand, it's just like, hey, what about me?
Mm.
This wasn't a part of the plan. So I can remember going to events, and sometimes if you're dealing with a celebrity, a football player, whoever, you go to their events, their stuff is late at night, and it would be an issue. It
Mm.
would be an issue. And it's just like, hey, you're a wife, you should be home at, a decent hour. Why are you out until this time? And this is not what I thought it would look like.
Mm.
And it can cause issues. So, I mean, I think women, especially if you're in a relationship, you're in a marriage, the success of your business can alter that dynamic. And you just have to be very cognizant. And I know, if looking back, I could have done things differently in some of those scenarios, because at the end of the day, I was his wife, and I understand where he was coming from. But in
Yeah.
my mind, I'm like, I'm just trying to be successful. I want to get out here more and put my name out here more and build momentum. But, as a wife, you have other obligations as well. So there's a
True.
fine balance. And I think balance in all things is something that entrepreneurs need to be very cognizant of.
Oh. And that is so hard, right? Because I think at the heart of an entrepreneur, you are just so driven and
Yeah.
just so really willing to go after whatever opportunity, that unicorn opportunity, right?
Yes.
Like I'm all freaking in. It's
Yes.
not, you're not even thinking of balance at that point. I would even share with you that I have many clients, if they're in a relationship or they're a married couple, and maybe one is very just committed to improving their health, and the other one, not that they're against them, but they're just not as, committed. When they
Mhm.
start seeing their partner succeeding and maybe gaining some self-confidence, I've seen that happen in that relationship too, that there's a little bit of that, hey, like what's going on here? There's this everything's off kilter now, what things are supposed to be, and that's a real battle.
It is a battle, and I think the person, that is kind of, I don't like to use the word stagnant, but the person that's here, you have your partners kind of elevating themselves. It's like, hey, this is out of my comfort zone. This No, I need you to come back here and meet me where I'm at again. And that's why I say, you need to rise to meet me.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're gonna clash every single time.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily like they have to have the same passions that you do. They just need to have a level of support where, like no matter how far you succeed, they're just there cheering you on instead of just being like, well, you know, you're out too late or you're not spending enough time. And it's just kind of taking a step back and realizing that, you need to just support. And yeah, they don't have to necessarily, he doesn't necessarily have to be with you in the kitchen cooking. He just has to be supportive.
Yes, and that is 100% true. And I will tell you, and I will give my ex-husband credit, because there were times where would make deliveries for me. So I did get that support um, from him. So I will give him credit for that. But I think for men and women, sometimes that woman's success that hits that ego for a man, and it's like, oh no. And that's, once that happens, it's kind of like, all
Yeah.
bets are off. So it like I said, it kind of messes up the dynamic when that happens.
100%. Now, when you think back, now, like, hindsight, obviously, right? There's all this wisdom gained in it. When you look back, what is probably one of the best lessons you've learned from that? I would say really hard time. It was probably extremely difficult. Like what would you say was a lesson that you could share with maybe if someone who's struggling with something like that right now?
I would say now that I'm more spiritual, and I'm into all kinds of things like that, and it's just like you have to take your blinders off, because like you said, when you're doing this, you don't get to see anything else outside of that. You're so focused. But I will say, sometimes you have to step back outside of yourself and say, okay, what does this look like? Yes, I'm successful. My business is exploding. What does that look like for my partner? You have to be very aware of how, you know, is their mood changing? Is something off? Are they trying to spend more time with me? Do they seem maybe more needy, or they're wanting more attention? You have to look at it, and put yourself in their shoes. What if that was reversed and it was you, and you're just like, my husband is just at the office all the time. He's business dinners. He's trying to close deals. I just want him to come home, and I want to cook a meal for him, or I want to spend more time with him. You just have to take a step back and put yourself in their shoes, because
Mhm.
now that all that time has passed, I have. And it's just like, I can see those times where it was just like, oh man, I could have done something differently. I could have had someone else deliver desserts, and I could have stayed home with my husband and dog.
Right.
um, but yeah, that's what I would say. Just kind of remove yourself, and turn off your ego as well. You can think like, oh, I'm the shit and this is amazing, but it's just like, at the end of the day, what you come home to means more than
Mm,
anything else outside of your home. So just put yourself in your partner's shoes and remove your ego, and just say, hey, how would I want to be treated in this? How would I want things to kind of go? And then I think you'll see things from a different perspective.
that's powerful, girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is very powerful for sure.
Do you think now when I think of I think well maybe we'll save that for the next round of questions. I think maybe what I want to get into next is so you're the dessert diva. You have this exploding business. And then you said you kind of took it you took a step back because you had another love. What was that?
Yes. The other love was culinary, cooking. It was something that, again, you have an idea, you have creativity that's just in your mind, and that's the only way that I can describe it. When you're creative, your mind thinks differently. So I get ideas all the time, like, what can I make, what can I create? And I noticed everything that was in my mind was just culinary. It was like, I want to learn how to make steaks properly. I dine out a lot. All of these things. I'm like, how do they make that? How do they make that? You can have a basis for cooking, but I wanted to step outside of just Southern food. And yeah, I can fry some chicken, but I'm like, I want to learn how to make escargot. I want to know how to make eggs properly. And from there, and I noticed that I started to be less enthused about desserts, because I felt like I had
Mm,
reached the top. By then, everyone was like copying my strawberries and cake pops, and I was like, everyone else is doing it. I'm
yeah.
bored.
I remember I got to vouch for that because you were cutting edge. Your desserts were like so unique at the time. I mean, cutting edge.
Thank
All
you.
right, go ahead.
Yes. So I just became less excited about it. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't. And so I
Mm,
drifted more towards learning new techniques and skills as far as culinary is concerned. And then I ended up going to culinary school, and it was eye opening. When I tell you, I got humbled quickly. You think you go in there and it's just like, you have these amazing chefs that have been around the world, in France and Italy, like executive chefs, everything. And they're now teaching, this curriculum. And you go in there and it's just like, okay, our first lesson, I remember it was eggs. I was like, oh, I got this. No, I didn't have it. I didn't have that. I was like, oh, I'm just going to throw some eggs and, crack my eggs, throw them in the skillet. And no, when I tell you I got humbled, I swear on God, I got humbled. It was like, no, you shouldn't have any brown around, when you're making like over easy eggs. There should be no brown at all.
Oh,
You do not put pepper on it until after, because you're learning how to serve the customers, not what you want. So
gotcha.
you had to relearn so many things. And that was the that was a funny experience. If you could be a fly on the wall in that kitchen, it was interesting.
Oh. So, and how long ago was that? Because it felt like, well, for me, it felt like it just went by that fast, but I'm sure it's been years now.
That was over a year ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
So,
6 months of learning. It was so condensed. So it's like every
yeah.
week it was a new lesson. So you don't spend a whole lot of time. And then they give you a final as well. Every couple of weeks it was like a final. Okay, so the eggs, and then you're learning how to fabricate fish, chicken, all all kinds of things, lamb, all of that, Frenching. You're learning so much stuff, and it was just like, it's so fast, but it was amazing. It was an amazing experience
So,
to
and
even.
so, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, it was just an amazing experience to even be able to go and have the Marine Corps pay for it. If you're a veteran, you better use your benefits. I'm going to tell you
Oh,
that right now.
oh, shoot. That's
I'm
awesome.
serious. Yes, yeah, the GI Bill was amazing. They paid for that.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so cool. So do you do any kind of events or anything for desserts, or have you really just made the complete switch over to the culinary side?
I do desserts every now and then. I have clients that I've had for years. It's like, hey, someone's birthday. Can you do a cake? I do have someone now I'm working with. She wants to have her wedding. She's like, can you do a cake for me and my husband and all of that? So I get pockets of dessert orders, but it's nowhere near what it was years ago. And I actually like that.
Yeah. So now with your culinary, skills and this business, do you do like more private events or
I do
catering
private
events?
I do more private events, but as part of my externship, I actually went to work in restaurants. I worked at Mastro's in Beverly Hills, and I also worked at the Water Grill in Santa Monica. So getting that line experience and real world cooking experience, you get some of that in culinary school, but once you're out there, it's so fast. It's so
Yeah.
fast. You better learn real quick. You have to learn everything on the menu. It's like, you better learn how to make this salad this way, the plating, all of that. It's a lot. And I think as consumers and customers, you walk into a restaurant, hey, I want a salad, and you don't realize what's going on in the back and how to make that salad perfect for you every single time. It has to be consistent. So I did that, and it taught me so much.
Yeah.
But now it is private. I do private clients and events like that. So yeah, I've had some great private clients, I will say.
That is awesome. And so when you think back how you made that shift from your, dessert world to now culinary and being a private chef, do you feel like now you're in your your place, or do you see yourself even moving on from here in, let's say, a few years?
I feel like I'm in my happy place. Just cooking for others and on that scale. Because when you're doing private work, they expect a lot because they're paying a lot per plate, and they want that whole experience. They want the chef in the kitchen. They want to see you cook everything. They want to see you plate everything, all of that. So I feel like I'm in my space where I'm supposed to be. However, the end goal is to own my own restaurant. That
Yes.
Amazing.
would be amazing. I do have some amazing friends, and there's like, we believe in what you do. We would love to invest and all of that. And as I said, when I get to that point, I hope that offer still stands. That would be amazing. And I just would want people just to come.
Hell yeah. Just because I'm curious, what would you, or do you even know, what would your restaurant be known for? Like as far as what kind of dishes?
It would be just more elevated comfort. Of course, the fried chicken would be on the menu. It would just be comforting to. Okay, and this is the thing. It would be comforting to most cultures because I have friends from everywhere. So African cuisine, Vietnamese, Mexican, Iranian food,
Mhm.
all of that. Um, Arab food. Like I've been influenced, and I would probably rotate the menu a little bit because not everyone's going to eat all of that stuff. But there would be some staples. But it's just comfort food. Mexican food for sure would be on the menu. I get down on pozole and birria, all of that. Don't play with me. So, so yeah, just bits and pieces of what would feel like home for the customers that come in, and that's actually would be the name of my restaurant. Would be called home.
Oh, that's
Put it out
awesome.
there, girl. It's gonna happen.
Oh, I'm manifesting all the time.
Yes,
All the
you
time.
do.
Yes.
Yeah, so something that I actually, before I went to cosmetology school, I don't even know if Barbara knows this, but I actually was going to start my own cupcake business
Oh,
because I loved, I can actually make some pretty decent cupcakes. They're probably not even remotely close to yours,
yeah.
but I even had like this older couple that wanted to invest. And it wasn't until I started making cupcakes for like events and I felt that pressure of like, I had to make 300 mini cupcakes in
Oh,
4 different flavors. And I was so stressed out because it was just me.
yeah.
So I like give it out to you because I gave it up and I either decided, okay, I'm either going to start my own cupcake business or I'm going to go to cosmetology school. And I ended up going to cosmetology school because I could not take that pressure. I was like, yeah, no, I'm just
I
doing
didn't
this
know
for
that.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh my
I would
God.
bring cupcakes to the physical therapy office that I was working at. And I would and Barbara's sister, probably I used to work with her. She's a physical therapist. And so you should ask her about that, Barbara. She'll tell you. She's like, yeah, she makes good cupcakes.
Oh,
Oh,
see,
good for that. Now I want to try your cupcakes.
there you
Right?
go.
Can't
You have
just
a
I
eat
make
cupcake party.
this.
Yeah, I make a couple different flavors and they're always like they're very simply decorated. I can't get into too much crazy decorating,
Right.
but yeah, I give it out to you because that's like a lot of pressure
Thank you.
to
You know, it's a
perform.
lot of pressure. Not only to like make all of that, it's the delivery.
Yes,
The
and not messing it
delivery.
up. I didn't even know how. I was like, how am I going to transport how am I going to transport 300 mini cupcakes? I don't understand what to do.
But somehow you figure that out. But it's nerve wracking. And don't try to drive in cakes that are tiered. Like, mm-mm.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, I'm glad you said that because I think a lot of times when people see other entrepreneurs who are very successful, they just think that, you had it all figured out, that it wasn't a struggle. And they don't see all this behind the scenes stuff where like, you had a project or delivery that was so stressful and you just had to figure it out. I mean, like you just literally had to figure, no one was there to tell you what to do. Like
Yeah.
how do you get through some of that? Like, because I think that's what stops a lot of entrepreneurs is they get scared, right? And they're like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I cannot deal.
Yeah. I think getting through that is just, you have to, at the end of the day, your client is relying on you. If especially like if it's a party, like a birthday party, it's a wedding, God, weddings, but like a wedding, anything like that, it's just like, you know what? All I can do is deliver a great product. If something happens, like you said, I'll figure it out, but I just pray that it doesn't. But you also have to be a bit forward thinking. It's like, okay, if this goes wrong, I'm going to have this extra product, this. So if something happens when you get there, you can do what you can to correct it. You can
Mhm.
fix it. I've had plenty of those. I actually had a cake that just slid And I I know what I did wrong at that time, but it was at the very beginning, and I remember the cake sliding. It just slid off, and I was
Oh
like, and he
no.
was just so angry.
No.
Yeah, it was so disappointing. The fondant was coming off, and now I know what I did. Oh my god, so
Yeah.
dumb. But I know what I did wrong. But at the time, I freaked out, and all I could do. She was so disappointed. It's like, this is my son's birthday, and she's like, I want my money back, and having to give back the money. But I understand. I was just like, you took a loss, but it's also disappointing your client. That sucked too. So it was very humbling, and you just have to learn from it. But it taught me to be prepared.
That's a good tip. Just be prepared. Try to think ahead. Think ahead. Think of the what ifs,
Hmm.
and then just do your best. Just show up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which
But
I
yeah,
have to now because we cannot miss talking about this because, like I said, this is literally a workshop in whether it's self confidence, self belief, and really self love. And I know that as beautiful as you are on the outside, you are so beautiful on the inside, and you're humble and always encouraging. And, you're always about just lifting, people, but also I think women and really just lifting women and other women up, which I think a
yeah.
lot of times, sometimes people think, oh, women can be catty. And that is so not Tracy. You're all about the uplifting part. So kind of share with us. I know there's some things that you do to really uplift yourself, but I think also help other women too.
Yeah. Self love is a thing. Barbara can attest. She sees my post all the time. I do self date nights a few times a month, if not more. You know, I know being single, all of that stuff can affect you, but I mean, I encourage women, just because you're not in a relationship or you don't have a significant other at the moment, you still have to date yourself, love yourself, put yourself first, because that teaches other people how to treat you. And getting comfortable with being alone, being with
Mm.
yourself, being with your thoughts, and just uplifting yourself. That's so, so, so important. And I do get women who are just like, oh my God, how do you go out alone? Don't you feel weird? Do people stare at you? And they stare at me in the good way. I will
I was
tell
going
you.
to say they stare at you because you're looking hot.
But also with that, because I will get my makeup done. I will get a new wig. I mean, it depends. It depends on my mood, but mostly it's just I look good for myself. I'm not going out there looking for anything in particular. It's just for me. That attention is for me. That love is for me. And
Mm,
so I just encourage women, please treat yourself immaculately. That way you won't accept anything less.
mm.
Nothing less.
Just
Did
having a
your
very
mom?
high
Oh,
standard for yourself.
Say it again.
I said just having a basically a very high standard for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to, because nobody else should determine your value and your worth. If
mm,
you needing someone to say you're pretty or take you out for you to feel good, you already lost. You have to
mm.
do that for yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Was your mom like, did she kind of teach you that, or is this something that you kind of developed on your own?
My mom instilled a lot in me growing up. But I think this the degree of self-love that I have now is something that I had to really implement in myself.
Mm,
Just looking back on relationships and things that I tolerated, and because I didn't value myself, I allowed so much negative behavior. Now I would be disgusted with myself that what I allowed, because I didn't value myself. But you always take those relationships and lessons and you apply it to today, and this is a part of growth. A part of growth.
wow.
But my mom did have a hand in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because I think we can all look back on all of our lives, right? And the lessons that we've learned along the way. I think the difference is if you're holding yourself accountable to actually implementing what you've learned,
Yes.
right?
Yes. You
And
have
I
to
feel
hold
like
people.
you share that a lot about even in the posts that you do about the self-love, all of that. It feels like you're constantly like leveling up and implementing the things that you've learned. I mean, I definitely, give you that. That's amazing that you do that and you put it out there, you know?
Absolutely. People, I mean, it if I inspire one person, that's great. If I inspire a woman, that's just like, you know what? I've been dealing with this person, this man for all this time, and I'm not getting what I need, and this and that. It's just like, okay, what are you going to do?
Mhm.
How you value yourself. Don't tolerate that, whatever it is. I know a lot of people are scared, but it's just like once you stick up for yourself, people are going to learn. They will learn to respect you and to value you. You have to speak up. You have to be confident. You have to have that. So
Yeah.
don't be scared.
Yeah. And that goes, I think that's also maybe goes hand in hand with how you've had a successful business it's carried over into that being confident as a businesswoman. I mean,
You have to be confident in all ways, in all areas of your life. Otherwise, people will run over you all the time. Again, like with the discounts, like, oh, can I get this for free? Can you lower your Absolutely not. And even if that would have been a lucrative event for me, it's just you want me to discount what I do? Like, would you, if your employer told you, hey, we're not going to pay you your normal rate, we need a little discount, you'd be upset. You wouldn't allow that. So
yeah.
you cannot do that in any other area. Don't accept less. Don't accept crumbs.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. And I think like, you said it's just like asking someone who works let's say a corporate job, like, would you be willing to take a 10% cut because for whatever reason? People would be like, hell no.
Immediately no.
Right. Yeah, it's like my time is valuable, your time is valuable, and I'm going to
Yeah,
be recognized for that. So,
absolutely.
wow. Oh my gosh, girl. Now, we've covered so much. You're growing up, Marines, culinary school, two businesses. Oh my gosh, this might be a hard question, but if there is a lesson out of all of this that you would love to share and that you feel like people could just really, kind of gain from, what would that be?
Do it. Do
Do
it.
it.
If you have an idea and you believe in your soul that it's for you, it's going to be amazing, do it. And you can go and ask your friends, what do you think about this? No, if you know in your heart, you feel conviction in your heart to do something, do it. I don't care if there's 500 other cupcake businesses out there. I don't care if what kind of competition is. Do it.
Mhm.
And make sure when you do it that you stand out. Period. And that's something I had to
Yeah.
learn. I had to, like, you can't be scared. You can't be scared of competition. You can't be scared of failing at something. At least you tried. But damn it, if you're going to do it all the way, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed. It's going to feel really good to go after what you want, because if you don't, you're always going to regret it.
Definitely. I feel like we've kind of talked about that before of not being afraid of starting over and not being afraid to be a student again, you know?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right?
That's great. I love
I,
that. So if people wanted to follow you or see your journey, where can they find you?
You can find me. I have Instagram. That's where all of my work is, my dessert business, as well as my private chef business as well. So the dessert business is Serene Table Desserts. And then the culinary page is Serene Table Dining.
yes.
Instagram, yes.
Okay,
If you want to
awesome.
follow my personal page, it's Life of Tracie Lynn, by the way.
Yes, you can see her. She's like, and she is putting out those meals.
Yes,
She's like, and you're doing some Italian meals. I'm like, girl, I mean, you're on point.
I don't play around.
No, you don't. I'm always like creeping on her account, sending her fire emojis all the time.
She's like, can you send me a plate immediately? That would be great.
Exactly. Oh, girl, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you're going to inspire so many people. And like I said, you are not only beautiful on the outside, you're beautiful on the inside, such a beautiful woman. And
Thank
I'm so honored that you are my friend, our friend now. And I can't wait to showcase you and for everyone to see this episode. You are amazing.
Thank you
For
so much.
sure.
And you both are amazing as well. Thank you for even having me on your podcast and thinking, I would inspire some people. I mean, I'm very happy to have been able to talk to you guys today. So
Oh,
makes
well,
me
thank
happy.
you. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Yes. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.